want others to be good to you, so you should be good to others. It's about 1 hour, so I think I'll stop here, and if there are any questions, we can discuss. Okay. Yeah, last night we talked about the 4 pairs of Aryans. And now the question is, where do we place the Gotrabhu? The Gotrabhu is supposed to be a person who will not fall into the woeful plains, isn't it? But he is not considered an Arya. Now in some other sutta I've come across, the Buddha says there are only 9 types of beings in the world. The Putujana, or ordinary being, plus the 8 Aryans. The 8 Aryans are the first path, first fruit, second path, second fruit, third path, third fruit, and fourth path, fourth fruit. Now in the Samyutta Nikaya 25.1, it is stated that when a person attains the first path, it takes some time before it becomes the first fruit, Sotapanna. But definitely in that lifetime, it will turn from path to fruit. So my personal view is that it applies also for the second path, third path, and fourth path. When a person attains any one of these paths, it will automatically turn to fruit within his lifetime. As far as the Gotrabhu is concerned, the Buddha, in some suttas, the Buddha talk about some people who have great faith in the Buddha, great faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. But because maybe they have not learned the Dhamma or the suttas enough, then they have not become an Arya. But because they have great faith in the Buddha, that love for the Buddha will prevent them from going to the woeful plains. That is provided they don't do evil karma. So I think this Gotrabhu is that type of person. That means a virtuous person, but not yet an Arya. Maybe on the way to becoming an Arya.
There's some university that the person that teach Dhamma is a monk, so is it right way that a lay person can teach monk Dhamma?
A lay person teaching a monk.
Yeah.
Now the Buddha says that whenever we want to look for a teacher, we should look for a teacher, or one who is qualified to be our teacher, is one whose sila, samadhi, and panya, moral conduct, concentration, and wisdom is higher than you. If these 3 things are not higher than you, then he is not qualified to be your teacher. So that's the way to judge. But it's not easy to judge a person. The Buddha says to know a person well, you have to associate over a long period with that person, and you got to be very, you got to be sharp. You are able to notice his character. So it's not easy to judge a person in a short time.
During Buddha time, there's a lot of those ancestors they practice and they have good meditation. But then some of them they also don't agree with Buddha's words, even if they have a good samadhi or whatever.
So
what does this imply of why are they not? Because their samadhi is so good, their mind is so clear. When they come to Buddha and Buddha gives the Dhamma, they more or less can absorb faster and better.
Oh, so your question is why do some people they have good samadhi, and why can't they accept the Buddha's teachings? Sometimes it is due to ego. Many of them they are already famous teachers, so they will not submit themselves to be a disciple of somebody else. Very few of the humility to do that. So unless they can be willing to really listen to the Dhamma, because if that person is not keen to be a disciple, his ego it will prevent him from really listening to the Dhamma. You got to pay thorough attention when you the Buddha says the condition for right view. There are two conditions for right view. One, you got to hear the voice of somebody teaching the Dhamma to you. The second one is yoniso manasikara. Yoniso manasikara is paying full attention. A lot of people, when they come to listen to the Dhamma, for various reasons, one is their ego. They are not very interested to listen. They think they have already, like these external sect teachers, they think they already attained something. They are not willing to really listen to the Dhamma. That's why if a person wants to learn from a teacher, that person, one of the conditions that he has to humble himself. In one of the suttas, the Buddha admonished one of the monks, one of the Buddha's disciples, because probably he thought there are a lot of people, when they come to learn with a teacher, they have a lot of views, they have a lot of fixed views. So sometimes they try to argue with the teacher and all that. So the Buddha says, told that monk that when you learn from a teacher, you should have that view that the teacher knows more than me. So because when you are humble enough to think that the teacher knows more than you, then you will actually listen properly to what the teacher is trying to tell you. Because sometimes when the teacher is trying to tell you something, it takes time to get the message across. Sometimes he says something you don't understand, and then another day he has to put it in another way. And then if you don't understand again, he has to try to make you see by trying to explain in another way. But if you are not interested, you try to argue with him and you try to think otherwise, you can never learn. So that's why you see, like for Christian renunciants, priests and brothers and all that, I always say they take 3 vows. One is a vow of chastity, the vow of poverty, and the third is the vow of obedience, to always be obedient to the teacher. A lot of people, they are not qualified to be a student because they don't have the attitude, the humility of a student. They keep judging the teacher, always trying to judge the teacher, and trying to gauge the teacher and all that, not willing to submit themselves.
Just like you were saying here, there are 2 conditions to learning the Dhamma. One is you must listen. I mean, in olden, the other one is paying full attention. But in the olden times, there's no written books and all this. But nowadays we have books and all this. Would we be able to learn Dhamma from?
Oh yes, definitely. When you say listen to the Dhamma from another person, that includes reading. When you read the the books of the Buddha, the Buddha's words, it's as though the Buddha was sitting next to you and teaching you the Dhamma. So a lot of people, they are so foolish. They don't realize the value of the Nikayas. This Nikayas has been transmitted down to us over 2,000 years by so many monks and so many arahants. And they have taken so much trouble to preserve these books down to us. And we are so foolish because it is so hard to meet the true Dhamma. The Buddha said he contemplated the last 91 world cycles. He only saw 6 Sammasambuddhas willing to teach the Dhamma. And now of these 6 Sammasambuddhas, 3 of them are on this earth, in this world cycle, which means in the last 90 world cycles, there were only 3 Sammasambuddhas willing to teach the Dhamma. Right? Which means it takes about 30 world cycles to meet the true Dhamma. 30 world cycles. The Buddha said 1 world cycle is so long, it's hard to imagine how long it is. And the Buddha said, to give you a simile, the Buddha said, you imagine a rock, a solid piece of rock, 1 yojana, which means 10 kilometers tall, 10 kilometers wide, and the breadth is also 10 kilometers. So a cube of solid rock, a cube 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers. And then the Buddha said, imagine the time to weigh it down to nothing. And you have a soft cloth, say like a silk cloth. You are only allowed to rub that rock once in 100 years. Once in 100 years you rub it once. And then you have to wait for another 100 years before you can rub it again. How long before you can wear away that rock? That is how long a world cycle is. So the Buddha said, it's so hard to imagine how long it is. And it takes 30 world cycles before you can meet the Dhamma. So now that the Dhamma is in front of us, we don't want to take the trouble to go and study and attain right view. After you pass away from here, you are not going to meet the Dhamma for extremely many rebirths. And when that happens, if you can remember, you regret.
One day, another, this is my personal, because when especially the first 2 nights when we are talking about this Samyutta Nikaya, it's a lot of devas and all this. I mean, my own thing is somehow my mind rejected it because it is like it's not real. I mean, to me, I can't comprehend it as real deva and all this real. Today's one, when you came Pasata and all this, we know such a person that sees. So for me, it's a bit difficult to say, accept that as a.
Yeah, I can understand.
Put it in a. To me, my mind will still in a story.
I can understand. You know why? Because probably for the whole of your life, you're not going to meet any deva. But why is it in the suttas we meet so many devas? Because during the Buddha's time, there were so many arahants. It's because of the arahants, the devas are interested to come and see them and to talk to them. The devas are not interested to meet ordinary people. Why should they come and waste their time and visit you and talk to you? They got so many beautiful devis to play with. They have no time for you. Even you pray to them to come also, they won't come. These are different. These are arahants. They will come to the arahants without invitation. You see, sometimes in the suttas, there are some other suttas, the Buddha says, you look at the devas, they have come to pay respect to the Buddha. The Buddha says from the 10,000 world systems, they have come to pay respect to the Buddha. So it's because during the Buddha's time, there were so many arahants that they keep coming. Nowadays, where they want to come? Mara is very powerful, Satan. Even in the suttas, we find some of the devas, like in the Brahma heavens, they are actually superior to him, a higher level, and yet he can possess some of them.